Between the 15th and 18th centuries, a terrifying wave of paranoia swept across Europe. It was called the Witch Craze, a time when thousands were hunted, tortured, and executed for crimes that were impossible. Fueled by superstition, religion, and fear of the unknown, this dark era left a permanent scar on history. These are 15 chilling facts that reveal how it really happened. Thank you for tuning in to Knowriosity, where chilling history comes back to life. If you enjoy tales lost to time, don't forget to like, comment, and hit subscribe. There's always more waiting in the shadows. Fact 1. Executions across Europe. Over 40,000 people were executed during the Witch Craze, with some historians suggesting the number may be closer to 60,000. These weren't isolated events. The executions spanned Germany, France, England, Switzerland, and beyond. Trials could last for years and consume entire towns. Victims were often burned alive, though some were hanged or beheaded. Public executions were meant to send a message, but they stirred up even more fear. Fact 2. Most accused were women. About 75 to 85% of those accused were women. Society viewed women as morally weaker and more prone to temptation. Midwives, herbalists, widows, anyone without male protection was vulnerable. Their knowledge or independence was often seen as threatening. A woman didn't have to be evil, just inconvenient. Fact 3. How a witch trial started. Witch trials often began with a simple accusation. A sick cow, a sudden storm, or a failed harvest. Once accused, a person was presumed guilty. They were arrested under harsh conditions and brought before courts stacked against them. Often it wasn't justice, it was fear in robes. Personal grudges and land disputes hid behind holy words. Fact 4. Torture was legal. Torture was not only common, it was legal in many places. Victims were stretched, burned, deprived of sleep, and dropped from great heights. One method, the strappado, dislocated shoulders with a single yank. Confession was the goal, not truth. Pain made people say anything to make it stop.
Fact 5. Witches' marks were proof.
A mole, a scar, even a birthmark could mean death. These so-called witches' marks were believed to be signs of a pact with the devil. Witch prickers used needles to test for numb spots, which was seen as demonic feeding sites. Even the most natural blemish became deadly. No one's body was safe from scrutiny. Fact 6. The swimming test. The swimming test was simple and cruel. The accused was tied up and thrown into water. If they floated, they were witches. If they sank and drowned, they were innocent. Either way, most didn't survive. Fact 7. Confessions under duress. Victims confessed to flying on broomsticks, speaking to demons, and causing plagues. These confessions were collected, copied, and used to justify future hunts. Under extreme torture, people admitted to the unthinkable. The more bizarre the story, the more it was believed. Confession wasn't truth, it was survival. Fact 8. The Malleus Maleficarum. In 1487, a Dominican inquisitor wrote the Malleus Maleficarum, or the Hammer of Witches. It claimed women were more likely to be witches and gave detailed methods of hunting them. The book became the go-to manual for witch trials across Europe. It turned fear into policy, and it left blood on every page. Fact 9. Natural disasters blamed on witches. If crops failed or lightning struck, witches were blamed. In a world without science, people needed someone to fault. Fear made the unexplainable feel personal. Entire towns fell into panic from a single tragedy. Accusation followed devastation like thunder after lightning. Fact 10. Animals were also executed. Cats, pigs, and other animals were believed to be demon spirits called familiars. These creatures were thought to help witches carry out their dark deeds. Many were killed in public, just like their owners. Black cats became infamous, a superstition still alive today. No creature was too small to escape suspicion. Fact 11. Children as witnesses. Children were seen as innocent, and that made them dangerous in court. They were coached, manipulated, or terrified into testifying. Some accused their own parents, leading to entire families being destroyed. Their words held weight, even when they weren't true. In the eyes of the court, a child's fear sounded like truth. Fact 12. Witch marks sealed fates. Accused witches were stripped and examined for marks, often in public. These humiliating searches turned the body into evidence. A single freckle could mean death. There was no medical understanding, only belief. Once marked, the accused rarely walked free. Fact 13. Mass executions in towns. Some towns turned witch hunting into a system. In places like Würzburg and Bamberg, hundreds were executed in just a few years. Even children were burned at the stake. Once fear took root, it spread like fire. Nobody could be certain who'd be next. Fact 14. Secular courts played a role. It wasn't just the church. Local leaders drove many of the witch trials. They used the chaos to seize land, settle grudges, and tighten control. Accusations became political tools. The line between law and fear disappeared. Witch hunts were often less about faith and more about power. Fact 15. Enlightenment ended the craze. By the 1700s, science and reason began replacing superstition. Thinkers of the Enlightenment challenged the logic of witch hunts. Laws were repealed and the hysteria slowly faded. The last known witch execution in Europe was in 1782. But the damage had already been done. The witch craze wasn't just about spells or demons. It was about fear, of women, of change, and of the unknown. Thousands died because belief became law. It stands as a warning of how easily reason can be silenced by fear. Let history remember them and teach us never to repeat it. Thank you for tuning in to Knowriosity, where chilling history comes back to life. If you enjoyed Tales Lost to Time, don't forget to like, comment, and hit subscribe. There's always more waiting in the shadows.